What's good? It's Casper. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is a 2019 film. It's rated PG and it's an hour and 49 minutes. Directed by Marielle Heller. I remember talking about this movie with my boy about how Tom Hanks was gonna do a Mr. Rogers movie. The idea in general was something that I was like, yo, that's actually insane to actually see a Mr. Rogers film. So the whole idea that I had with this movie was we're gonna see another biography or documentary type movie. Finally got to it, and just to find out, for those who haven't seen it, this movie is not about Mr. Rogers' life. This movie is about a true story about a journalist named Lloyd Fogel and how the relationship ends up growing by Lloyd having to go and interview Fred Rogers for an assignment that he has for his work. Lloyd Fogel has a lot of stored up emotions. He has a lot of things that he's been going through in his life, and basically he's the type of person that just going with the emotions. He kind of has feels like a boring life. He doesn't have too much enthusiasm. His focus is just straight work for the magazine company that he works for. Meeting Mr. Rogers in this movie actually shows a side of him that he didn't think that he had. The way Fred Rogers, aka Mr. Rogers, sees Lloyd Fogel surprises Lloyd. So in this movie, you're seeing how the relationship from where Lloyd was literally at his lowest in his life, even though he still has his wife and a new baby boy, but he has some family issues from the past that's been holding him, you can tell in this movie, for years. Meeting Mr. Rogers shows that a lot of adults make mistakes. Him in his personal life sees like how he can forgive some people, but in this movie you're seeing how you're not too focused on Mr. Rogers' life or seeing what he came up from. You're seeing more of the time where Lloyd Fogel has to interview Mr. Rogers for a project or an assignment that he has to do for his magazine, but ends up changing and uplifting a very depressed Lloyd Fogel into a very genuine, soft, warm-hearted person, and that has a very family caring heart now. At first he had literally the opposite of that. Cool to see how Mr. Rogers saw a side of him that Lloyd Fogel didn't know that he had. Mr. Rogers is that person that ends up shining his light. So you're seeing the interaction and the friendship between Mr. Rogers and Lloyd Fogel. There's a lot of concepts and a lot of ideas this movie could have done, and I honestly really like that they went with this friendship relationship storyline. When the movie started, you get that straight nostalgic feeling from when you were watching Mr. Rogers on the TV. Really interesting way to start. Grabbed my attention right from the beginning. With Tom Hanks and Matthew Rhys being the main characters in this movie, both really good at complementing each other's acting. The connection was absolutely real. Matthew's character Lloyd, his connection with his family felt very real. Really cool to see a Matthew Rhys performance. Don't think I've ever seen anything from him. All the emotions and all the things he was going through played out very well, and since you could see where this dude is holding a lot of emotions, you could see why he's holding a lot of emotions. Facial mannerisms were very on point with everybody. Kind of feel for him, but the acting overall, very impressed. Definitely a character that you saw growth. The people behind the scenes of this movie really did research, really put some time. Minute by minute you could see that they're moving with a good pace. Director, editors did a really good job on putting the 90s quality mix with the now moments. Very impressed when Tom Hanks appeared on the screen. From the small movements to his voice presentation, you can tell Tom Hanks really had dedication. Tom Hanks really studied Mr. Rogers. Really appreciated that it wasn't a look on Tom Hanks where I'm like, yo, it looks like just Tom Hanks being Tom Hanks. Obviously you could see it's Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks is giving back to the audience with a real Mr. Rogers feel. A lot of the moments, even with the quality that they were doing with Tom Hanks, was straight on point. At times really felt that you're watching the real Mr. Fred Rogers doing his thing up there. Tom Hanks had a lot of his mannerisms on point. Mr. Rogers' speech in this movie, I thought it was on point. His movements just felt like you're watching the real show. Really cool to see the behind the scenes. Shout out to Tom Hanks on putting aside that I never knew Mr. Rogers had. I'm not sure how in detail this movie is on him meeting other people, but the overall feel that I got from this movie that he really did care about other people. He did have personal problems at his house that he did express. The writing and presentation, yo, this is amazing to see. Like, I could only imagine just being on set and seeing this presentation while you're filming this movie. Tom Hanks really did have that award Phil acting in this movie. He was nominated in this movie as a supporting actor, and crazy to know that he was the supporting actor in here. I really like how this movie did as strong as possible to bring back that same set design, bring back the puppets from the TV show. Really enjoyed, like I said, how they did the transitions with like that 90s quality on every time a character was moving somewhere from over the bridge or moving on a plane, they would use the little small set to show that they're transitioning to something else. Really enjoyed that small detail. That 1 minute scene where it was like a moment of silence, that's got to be one of the most intense scenes that I've seen this year. This is very quiet. This is very good quality. This is very intense as well. And everyone in the restaurant, I didn't know till after the movie that those people were actually the OG responsible people for the original Mr. Rogers show. So that's how dope that you know that this movie showed its appreciation. During that scene, Tom Hanks looks at the camera. That was a smart move that the director did, because I was just straight caught of attention. I couldn't believe that that was the look they were going for. I was just waiting for a quick snap or a quick cut to anything, but they were really making you know that Tom Hanks was looking back at you. So shout out to that scene. That scene was intense. The set design was one of those things that I appreciate, because I'm just looking around to be like, oh dang, this is what was happening behind the scenes. Like, I appreciated and absorbed and was trying my best to just catch any small thing that I can. Tom Hanks, we had the more impactful performance, was one of those things that almost made me tear up. But Matthew Rhys did a good job standing toe to toe with Tom Hanks, and he did a really good job with every scenario he was in. Jerry Vogel, played by Chris Cooper, point where I was like, dang, you can tell that that dad was selfish. The presentation for Chris Cooper was definitely straight believable. Really cool to see Mr. Rogers' wife was okaying this movie. She was that person who was watching over like what they were trying to do. She was watching over Tom Hanks to see if he was getting all his personalities and his movements right. The soundtrack is dope. Transition is cool. This movie does have like a musical feel throughout the movie, but it's not a dramatic or like, oh, here we go again. It was actually like, yo, Mr. Rogers is the man. And Mr. Rogers, he's that dude. He came up with this type of music, and spit your bars, Mr. Rogers. Every time he was singing here, I just wanted to listen. The way they ended it, I thought it was like just a perfect cinematic Broadway curtains coming down after seeing it straight awe. So really cool to see actually Mr. Rogers at the end credits. After my watching the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood out of 10, I'm gonna have to give the movie a 10 out of 10. So that's my movie review for the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.